Hello, my name is Julie, and today we are doing Becca's Bookopoly Spooky Edition. So Becca in the Books is one of my favorite booktubers to watch, and she has for years done a monthly TBR game that is based around Monopoly, and a couple years back made it into a readathon. So everyone has a general board that they play on to build their TBR for the month, and this year, since it's on October instead of September, it is actually Halloween themed, which is very fun. So I am going to be doing all of my October TBR through Bookopoly rolls. I have one ARC and then my book club book, and I have a library book. So other than that, I'm not really picky about what I'm reading. I feel like I'm kind of running into a wall as to picking out what my next read's gonna be, so I'm excited to see what we do. If you want to learn more about Bookopoly and participating in the bookopolathon this month, I will leave a link in the description. But without further ado, let's start doing my rolls. Welcome to the tiniest Becca's spookopolathon board you'll ever see. This was smaller than I thought it was gonna print out, but that is fine. So I have my Lego me. She's got her PPE on. She's got the Leonardo da Vinci Vitruvian Man. She's got her croissant because she bakes. She's very cute, and she's going to be starting on the go space right here. Hopefully she'll stand up. And then we have our two dice. So shout out to my sister for getting me these dice that have green dinosaurs suspended in them. I love them very much. I have made prompts for these cards and picked books for these cards, and we are all ready to go. So hopefully we are aiming to do 8 rolls, I think we're going to do. So let's see what we get. Starting with roll number 1. That's doubles right off the bat. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A book with an orange cover. Alrighty, we got orange cover. So I don't have that many choices when it comes to books I physically own. I do feel like there have been a lot of like 2023 orange covers. I feel like this year is the year of the orange cover, but instead of picking something here, I am going to be reading one that I am highly anticipating, and that is Wrong Place, Wrong Time. So this is a mystery thriller with a time travel element, and if you know me, you know that time travel is my favorite trope. So our main character is a mother who discovers that her 18-year-old son murders somebody, and then she wakes up the day before, and she's going to try to stop the murder, and she keeps failing to stop the murder, and she keeps waking up one day previous of the next one, so she keeps going further and further back in time to try to figure out why her son is killing this person, what's going on, and I think that is just the funnest concept ever, so I can't wait to read this one. Roll number 2. We've got a 5 and a 6. And that is a community shelf card. So let's get a little shuffle going. An obligatory read. Then prompt number 2, this is a very convenient one. So obligatory just means anything that I needed to read in the month. So I am going to be picking The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This is my book club pick for this month. So my book club, 3 of Clubs, we pick a new theme that we read 3 books around every quarter. And this quarter, voted on by everyone, we're reading cozy fantasy, which is a big trend right now. And the first book that we're reading is this one. I wasn't excited when this book came out, and then I actually read the premise and thought, this sounds so much fun. So our main character is one of the very few witches in England, and she disguises that she is a witch by doing a YouTube channel where she pretends that she's a witch. And there's a group of people who track her down and are like, hey, we have a bunch of young witches that we need to help them train their powers, so can you please help us because we know you're actually a witch? And so she goes to help them. This gives me a little bit of House in the Cerulean Sea vibes. I know it's gonna have a little bit of romance in it, but it seems very cozy and goofy. So I think this is gonna be so much fun to read with everyone. And if you'd like to join us, our link to the Discord is in the description.
Roll number 3. That is a 3. And we got dice roll roulette, so I am going to roll the dice, and that is going to decide the page count of the book that I'm going to read. The higher the numbers on the die, the higher the page count. And we got a 2, so it's going to be a very short book.
Ooh, let's see. So if you look at our chart here for what page count I'm supposed to read for this, I'm supposed to read a book under 125 pages. And I don't think I actually have a single book on my TBR that's actually under 125 pages. So I just decided to go with the shortest books on my TBR or any novellas that I had coming up. So I'm going to be reading a novella that I've been meaning to get to for several months now, and it's very appropriate because the last novella I read in this series, I read for the last Becca's Bookopolathon, and that is Dawnshard by Brandon Sanderson. This is a novella in the Stormlight archives that takes place between books 3 and book 4, so I am going to be reading this in preparation for reading Rhythm of War down here. So this novella in particular is following Navani, which she is a character that I absolutely love. I think Brandon Sanderson is really a standout when it comes to men writing women in fiction. I think all of his female characters I adore, and this is a shorter story following her. I'm very excited to finally pick this up because all of my friends who are reading Stormlight read it like right in a row, and I'm the only person who takes breaks between them, so I am feeling left out.
Roll number 4. That is another 3. 1, 2, 3. Crows and Ravens.
For Crows and Ravens, I have to read a book that has a bird or like a wing on the cover, any sort of thing I can tie to birds. I had a couple of options that I could read, but I decided that the last book that I'm going to buy myself with my Books A Million gift card is going to be Fourth Wing. I am finally giving in to the hype about this book because even the people who don't love it think it's good. If you are unfamiliar, this is the fantasy romance that has been taking the book community by storm and is about basically like a training college for dragon riders, and our main character is like not supposed to be a dragon rider and she's defeating all the odds. There seems to be some sort of enemies to lovers type thing going on, and dragons are great. Who doesn't love dragons? I think dragons are ridiculously underused in fantasy, considering that they're freaking fantastic. Yes, I could have read A Day of Fallen Night, but this is too chunky for me right now. It's gotta wait. Hopefully this is a new fantasy romance favorite because I have been struggling in the fantasy romance department lately.
Roll number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Jigsaw.
So we got Jigsaw. This prompt is to read a book that involves a game, trials, or a competition of some sort. There were quite a few that I could pick from. There were a couple that I was considering that I didn't have access to, but the one that I think I'm going to do is I'm going to be listening to the audiobook of The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is another very popular fantasy romance at the moment. I know when I was doing Realmathon back in like March or something, every single person was reading this and freaking out about it. And this is a fantasy. I don't know how high fantasy or urban fantasy it is, but it has to do with vampires and different like vampire courts. And our main character is entered into a competition where she has to defeat all these vampires. So we have 2 tries this month to get a new fantasy romance favorite. I'm crossing my fingers.
Roll number 6. That is a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Most recent purchase.
Then we got recent purchase. So I'm bending this a little bit. I don't buy every single one of my books, so I'm going to go with the most recent book I acquired, and that is The Last to Leave the Room by Caitlin Starling, and I got this arc from NetGalley and the publisher, so thank you so much to them. I absolutely loved The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. I actually read an arc of that as well, so when I saw that she had a new one out, I was like, I gotta read it. So this is a thriller horror in which a woman is working on a secret scientific project that her entire city is slowly sinking because there's some sort of like expansion going on that they don't have a scientific reason for, and she is keeping it secret that her basement has been slowly expanding, and that's why she's on this project. And then one day she ends up finding doppelgangers of herself down in the basement, and I'm sure things get very tense from there. This is a very different vibe from The Death of Jane Lawrence. That one was more like gothic and had a little bit of fantasy, and this one is very much of a science vibe. So curious to see where this one goes.
Roll number 7. That is a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that is a chance card. We're using both of our card decks. This is very exciting. Alrighty. Gray Sister.
Then we got a chance card, and I absolutely love that I've gotten to use so many of my cards in these readathons, but I ended up picking Gray Sister by Mark Lawrence, and I'm so glad that I picked this because this is my library book that I have out at the moment. This is the second book in the Book of the Ancestor series, so this is a high fantasy set in like a dystopian future where like the Earth is kind of in another ice age, and we've regressed to fantasy times again, and our main character is sent to this place to train with deadly assassin nuns. And then there's also this element of a prophesized hero and their guardian, and there is speculation that someone at the school might be these people, but there's also this element of how much of this prophecy is actually real versus like propaganda, which I thought was a really interesting take on The Chosen One. And we read the first book in this for my book club. Again, this is a total coincidence. The people who have continued on the series have loved it, and I'm so bad at continuing in series consistently, so I'm finally getting to book 2.
Roll number 8, our last regular roll, hopefully. That is a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Stephen King.
Then we got Stephen King. So I could do this one of 2 ways. The original prompt for this is to read a book that has royalty in it, but the alternative way to do it is read a book by that author, so reading a book by Stephen King. And I have a couple Stephen Kings right here. I have had The Long Walk on my shelf for like 3 years at least, and I've put it on several TBRs, and I also have Misery, and I have a collection of at least 10 of his books at home. But I'm not going to do that, even though I have so many. Me and my friend Katie are going to be doing a buddy read of Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is much more the vibe of what I want to read just this second. This is like a sci-fi opera series, but it seems a little bit like lighter in tone and also has a romance element. So there are these 2 princes who are of opposing kingdoms, empires, and they are put into an arranged marriage to try to stop a war, but that war is happening anyway. And I don't know, this just seems like grown-up YA, which is something that I like, where you've got like the good vibes and the obsession with the characters, but maybe you've got a more mature and thought-out plot. So I'm very excited to read this with Katie.
Our last roll, roll 9. That is our last roll, and it is a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. What a ghostly scene.
And then the last prompt is a Taylor Swift prompt, and that is What a Ghostly Scene, which is from one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs off of my favorite Taylor Swift album. So the prompt is to read anything that has ghosts in it, gothic vibes, anything in that supernatural paranormal vibe. So I decided that I am going to be reading The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. So this is a book that is very much inspired by Rebecca, which is a classic that I love, and it is about a young woman who gets married off to a man and lives in this big old mansion, but there seems to be something going wrong. This is definitely a haunted house vibe. There's a wife who just died. There's a priest who she is bringing in to help her try to figure out what's wrong with this house when nobody believes her. And I have just heard great things about this one. And is this not the most October vibe book you have ever seen in your life? And that was our last prompt. So these are the 3 books that I have physically on me right now that I'm going to be reading. And I am very excited for these books. I'd say about half of these books I wouldn't have picked up just this month, so I'm excited that I got a little bit of every type of genre, type of vibe on this TBR. So I'm very excited to read these because as you will see in my September wrap-up, I had a rough reading month. Let's just say that. Let's not spoil anything. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you're participating in Becca's spookopolathon down below because I'd love to see what you all are reading. I'll be in the Discord. I'm also participating in Holothon this month, which is another month-long readathon. That one's team-based, point-based. I'll be participating in that casually, so if you're doing that, let me know. But if you would like to follow me anywhere, find me anywhere, any of my clubs, my Etsy, anything, everything is in the description. And as always, I will see you in the next one.